as you interlock the two.
Now stretch them right as...
Soccer and the...
Quiet, please. In exactly 15 seconds, we'll be on the air.
I felt like a reptile. Like a reptile. I felt like a reptile.
I do like. Have you seen down here as well? There's like a load more.
Yeah, we'll talk about it. Are we on? We're recording. Oh yeah. Okay. Okay. Well, we're already recording, so we can talk.
Right,
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the full Reptile Radio. Owen, hi.
How you doing, dude?
We were just discussing our wonderful wallpaper for this week, created by Han Solowski.
Yeah.
Han Solowski. Han Solowski.
Or is it Han Solo? Ski.
Oh, it might be. It might be. Anyway, this popped up yesterday on social media, and it is fucking awesome.
Cool, right?
Yeah, man. Really cool.
Just puts me to shame.
Got Goddard in the background here.
Jimmy. You got Jimmy up at the top.
Jimmy at the top, yeah.
Lady V.
Dragons and Snake.
Lady V looking over your shoulder.
Lady V's, yeah, a couple of Lady V's. Got Jamie here. We've got Ollie. Got you, obviously. Got Dino in here down the bottom. What were you saying about Danny? I've not
I didn't even notice at first that there's even more.
Oh, shit, yeah,
Obviously
there's
down the
Jimmy
bottom.
again. There's you again.
So I think there's me. I think I get 3 hits altogether, so I'm winning. Oh, no, you got 3. Oh, okay.
Love the telephone box. Who's that in a telephone box, though? That looks like Veronica. I think that's Veronica in a telephone box. And I look in fucking great shape. I've never been in that good shape.
You're shredded,
That's brilliant.
Absolutely.
You can Photoshop all of my old fight photos if you want. That looks fantastic.
Just
really
redo
cool.
the Topps cards.
Yeah, anyway, we'll put his Instagram handle here, Han Solowski. Easy to remember that one. Go and give him a follow. This is fantastic. I think that would look good on a t-shirt, you know, that 3D design.
Just the way it's dropped,
Just like that.
We'll have to do it after he's forgot he did it, though, so it was our idea.
Nah.
All credit. But that'll be... I'll do that as the screensaver.
Okay, wicked. So that'll be available on the Full Reptile
normal place. You know where. You know where.
How are we?
All good, man. How are you?
All good, man. We got some fights to talk about. Do you want to start there? Well, what's happened this week? How's your week been?
Not bad. My thumb's recovering. I know. Just to address the oversized comedic bandage that I was wearing last time. A couple of people messaged me and said, "What have you been doing?" As you know, I like cooking. Big fan. And I often treat myself to different gadgets.
Of course.
And
You love a gadget.
I do love a gadget.
Sometimes a gadget will show up here.
Yeah.
If you've been using it for a couple of weeks and you were like, this is a good gadget,
you need one of these.
you tend to pass it on.
Yeah, definitely. So I bought myself a Joseph mandolin.
Okay.
Not the instrument. It is a slicer.
Mandolin type of guitar.
Yeah, because Nick Cage was in a film, wasn't he?
That Captain had one, didn't
Captain Corelli.
That's it.
And his magical
Was
mandolin.
that a Joseph and Joseph mandolin?
Yes.
That
he
was.
He, all the way through just slicing
Is
fucking...
that what he was doing?
Yeah, slicing onions.
It's a cooking show.
Who
Fucking
knew?
hell. I always thought it was something dramatic and
That's when Nick Cage just veered off.
into the Gordon Ramsay thing.
Yeah, then went
okay.
fully right.
Okay, fair enough.
So this, normally, if you remember back in the day, there was like on the shopping channel, there was a fella that was selling a V-slicer.
Right.
And he basically had this big piece of plastic with a really sharp metal blade, and it was like, for your biryani, your tiriani, your onions, your bunions, your munions, and he'd fuck off all this different sized veg and chop taters and whatnot into chips.
Yeah.
So
just all over the front row, the people
he
in the
didn't give a
studio.
fuck. He was just smashing them out.
Cameraman.
Yeah. So I found one of them years ago.
Right.
And I always rated them. But because of the ball ache of getting the whole thing out and chopping with it, I can chop before that's even fucking needed. So this Joseph one was like a short handheld one with different levels of thickness all built in. Joseph smashed it.
Both of them?
Yeah, both the guys. So what happened was all mandolins come with like a hand protector, and my original one looked like a cowboy hat. So if you imagine a cowboy hat with some spikes in it, you'd basically put a potato on that or a tomato or whatever, and you would slice it off.
I see.
But
a cowboy hat with spikes inside it.
Exactly.
Like a torture
cowboy hat, yeah. So this one came with it was like the letter C if it was in the Mario world, so it's quite square, like a Mario box, but just round, and it had a hole in the middle to hold carrots and stuff. But basically, it was there to stop you from fucking your finger up. And I was convinced the whole time when I bought it, because it was just on the side, that Stace had thrown away the guard. Now, I only say that because our children don't throw anything away, because they can be arseholes when it comes to that sort of stuff. So I knew that they wouldn't be like, maybe I'll spring clean. I know I hadn't thrown it away because I'd bought this present for myself. So I was convinced Stace had thrown it.
Okay.
So when she came back the other day, she was like, I need to make... we were having a stew, very typically British. It was Sunday. We were going to take the dogs for a walk. And when you walk back into a slow cooker that is cooking stew...
Wonderful.
Fuck me running. It's just gold.
Yeah.
And
peas, carrots,
everything.
onion, potato.
Yeah. Big chunks of beef.
Big chunks of beef.
Yeah.
They just fucking fall apart.
Fall to bits. Yeah. Melt in your mouth.
You're making me hungry.
Beautiful. So, with that in mind, we got back and she's like, I just need to chuck a few more carrots in. And I was like, well, I'm going to nip out, so I'll do that before I go. So I'm talking to her, all the while thinking to myself, be fucking careful because you've not got the guard on this. So I whacked about 6 carrots out, and she went, just do a couple more. So then, because the girls came in, it was someone else's fault other than mine. I just went from cutting, and I got it too close, and it just went, and it just, literally, it was about the size of a 5p.
Yeah.
Sat on top of a carrot.
A dime for those listening in America.
There you go. Like Scrooge McDuck's Lucky Dime caper off the Master System. So anyway, it was about that size, and it just sat on a carrot. So I ran to the sink, and because I knew just get it under cold water, and because there was no flap, I couldn't like steri strip it down.
Yeah.
And I was just thinking to myself, well, no point going to the hospital because you guarantee where I live, there's a lot of drunks there.
You'll get COVID in it as well.
I'll get COVID
right in it.
Yeah, and it'll go furry and
COVID.
green.
Oh,
So
all of it. You don't want to do that.
So my initial concern was, oh shit, how am I going to play Call of Duty? Which is probably not the most like worrying, but it still went through my brain.
Other side of it's not the other side of the thumb, is it?
No, it's the important. Do you know what I mean? So I was holding it underwater, and Stacey was like, "Are you okay?" I went, "Yeah, I'm fine," and I was fine. But naturally, I'm losing a lot of blood because it's just flowing. So then I did that thing because I had a morph on, I had a hoodie on, and a t-shirt and my hat. So I started stripping off because I just started getting a bit hot and bothered. But I was trying to, and just a bit. I'm not saying I'm going to faint, but can you give me a chair? And the thing is, because Stace, for all the time I call her, she's incredible and she's incredibly caring. So she was just trying, even though I was the only one that could hold my thumb under the water.
Yeah,
she wanted to help.
Yeah.
So I was like, I stayed dead calm and I was making jokes about it, and I'd eaten the thumb. Because she said, we're not going to sew this back on. So I thought, fuck it, I'll eat it because it's mine. It may as well go back in and like become part of me again.
Okay.
Which she found.
See, now Jamie's chuckling. I don't think I'd have done that. But you said it like it's just a normal thing.
Yeah, I spoke to other people. I spoke to Ted. I spoke to David.
And what was the consensus?
Yeah, obviously. Sam, I got to work and Sam was like, yeah, of course. What else are you going to do? Throw your own fucking thumb in the bin? That's silly.
It's only a little bit though, isn't it?
5p worth. Fuck me.
I wonder what percentage of body that was.
0.0 in it. But I couldn't get my teeth through it. It was thick.
Oh, right, okay.
I couldn't get my teeth through it.
That's because it's callous from Call of Duty.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
That's why you ate it. Yeah. Because there's Call of Duty knowledge in it. You didn't want to lose that callous.
I need to kind of absorb it into me somehow.
Yeah, reassimilate.
Yeah. So
that makes sense.
As I've now digested this thumb piece, and I'm starting to just I didn't feel sick, but I was getting warm. You know when you broke one of your mate's toys? Let's say you're at your friend's house and he just ran downstairs to get a drink and you were trying to change the transformer and you just did it a bit hard and broke its leg off. You're like, oh, fuck. Your ears go hot, start breathing a bit funny. So I was feeling like that. So I said to Stace, do me a favour, darling, just pass me a chair. And she went, right, are you okay? And just straight panic. And I was like, no, I'm fine. Don't keep talking to me though, because it's kind of spitting me out. It's getting me a bit dizzy. And she's like, why? Are you gonna pass out? And I was like, that's a question. And she's like, well, why do you need a chair? I was like, please just get me a chair and stop asking me questions. And you know when someone's trying to help? Yeah. So I was trying to strip off one-handed, and then I just sat there for a bit, and basically we just chucked a load of fucking gauze and shit on it and wrapped it up, which I didn't realise then Stace didn't sleep all night because she was worried I was going to bleed to death, which I thought she'd be just looking out for the fucking insurance papers. So that's what I did. I just literally went sink straight across, and it took probably 3 days to stop bleeding properly.
Yeah.
And now I just keep covering it in cream because it just... it's insane the amount of things, because it probably went, I don't know, if there's 10 layers of skin, it probably went halfway. And the amount of stuff you just touch, like with this thumb, and you can hardly feel it. This is the most sensitive fucking thing. And in our drawer in the kitchen, where our knives, forks and spoons are, some people call it cutlery, we're not that posh. It basically, again, Joseph...
My dad calls them weapons.
Weapons, yeah, get me weapons. Or some tools. Can I have some tools, Doc? It's another Joseph kitchen drawer helper. It's probably Joseph's fault.
I'm seeing a theme here.
Yeah, it's fuckface. Anyway...
Hang on, did we establish where the guard was?
Right, so... After about a week of me being in this predicament, I went into our middle drawer, which isn't necessarily a junk drawer in the kitchen, which is a classic in England.
Good word, that predicament.
Yeah, it was basically, we've got tea
It's the
towels.
drawer where everything else goes.
Loads of shit, but it's the busiest drawer in the fucking kitchen because it's got everything all piled on. And I had to move something out to get a potato ricer out, and because it's quite big, left this big gap, and there was this little fucking Mario World let us see sat there. Now, bear in mind, I don't ever lie to my wife, but I wouldn't have told her. And she was stood over my shoulder, waiting for me to get this thing out, and also had the audience of my dad and my stepmom and the kids and someone else in the house for her to go, oh, what's this? And I was like, fucking hell. So yeah, she fucked me with it. But yeah, it wasn't good.
But you're healing.
I'm healing.
And have you had to take PlayStation time off?
No.
Have you worked through it?
Yeah, I pushed through.
That's probably why it carried on bleeding for 3 days then.
Yeah, it was probably that.
Is one half of your controller all covered in blood?
Well, no, because I would wear a glove.
You wear gloves.
I had
of course,
I had a blood glove.
You have gaming gloves.
Yeah.
You're a pro. I forgot.
I had blood gloves.
You ever had driving gloves?
Oh man, what the brown leather with the no?
I saw them a few times when I was up in Scotland, and I'm thinking to myself, didn't that not go out of fashion, or is that coming back?
I thought that went out with Rovers.
Yeah,
I mean, Rovers and MG are back a bit, but they're like, well, not a Rover, but MG. But
you're a car guy, Jamie.
You
had driving gloves?
No, they're not good.
No?
Oh, no.
You don't need them for a Fiat Punto.
It's not good.
Yeah.
A what?
A jack.
Is that what it is?
Do they come standard with the Jag?
Oh, maybe they just come in certain glove compartments of certain cars. Like if you've got a Jag,
Do you get them with a Panama hat?
Range Rovers, you probably get them with Range Rovers.
Range Rover. So if you were to invest in a Panama hat, you know the white one.
I have a Panama hat.
Did you get free driving gloves with it?
I didn't. No.
What's that theory?
I bought it on Venice Beach though. So
well, that wasn't from Panama, was it?
they were trying to give me free. Anyway,
They were trying to give you. Oh no, we can't lose sponsors. So, but the main thing I've found is that your skin is fucking magical, and don't take for granted the fact that you can touch things without it sending a fucking lightning bolt through you.
That fucking thing that you said to me the other week on the podcast has stayed in my head since you said it about
Touching your tongue on it.
Yeah,
Mate, do it now. Look at anything.
I still do. I still do it. Like that orange amplifier is beautiful, isn't it? I often think I know what that would feel like to put my tongue on it.
Yeah, it's like Jamie's nose now. I've never got that close to Jamie to lick his face, but I would know exactly how his nose would feel on my tongue. Fucking weird. Honestly, it was my brother. He came back and told me that, and it was one of them when it was Christmas, so I'd probably have a few beers and whatnot, and I sat there and I just fell into myself, just looking at everything, and then remembered, this is obviously on how drunk I was, not only can I imagine what I can see, I can use my own memory of actual things to then see if that works as well. So, I'm not going to say something vulgar, but if you were to imagine anything in your own brain, you know what it feels like on your tongue.
Yeah. A problem I always had as a kid, and I didn't realise this until I got into my teens, but I have a really good imagination, as I know you do as well. And if I lost something, I would often look in places that it wasn't, because I could create a memory of me putting it in that place.
Yeah.
Like I used to look through fucking boxes and tubs and looking for specific things that would have never gone in there, but I could create a memory of that's a.
Well, I would convince myself in similar time that has actually happened because I can manifest this memory so quickly because what was I talking about the other day? It was a cartoon.
Okay.
Stace mentioned a cartoon and I sang the theme tune within a second.
Right.
And the kids went, well, obviously, you remember them all. And I was like, yeah, but I don't remember times table. And I don't remember Pythagoras. Oh, I do know Pythagoras' theorem because it nearly made me have a breakdown. But it's not the point. It's more the shit I should remember that should be in there.
That isn't.
It's not. But like, I can tell you Miguel Angel Torres' fucking fight record up until he retired in 2017. He's not been relevant for fucking nearly 10 years.
Yeah.
What the fuck's going on?
I don't know, man. Automatically stores what it wants to store.
Yeah.
Do you think kids' imaginations are better now or worse, given the technology they've got?
It's quite tricky because I've obviously got 2 children, and my youngest is very similar to me, and she is batshit crazy. So when it comes to drawing, she loves drawing and stuff. The imagination she's got within that is gold because there's just insanity, justified insanity, which I love because that is what any cartoon is, any creative element. Whereas Moo, because she's a bit older and she's slightly different, her imagination it's good, but it's nowhere near. She more plays to the rules all the time. Like she's a massive. She loves cooking. She cooks for me, and she said the other day she's doing shepherd's pie at school. So I said, you know what you could get for some extra points? You could pipe the potato on top instead of just don't drag a fork through it like some commoner. Pipe some little like potato tits on top. That would look beautiful.
Go. Little nipples.
Yeah, exactly. Beautiful potato nipples, buttery ones.
Oh.
Imagine, you know what your tongue would feel like on the top of that potato.
Absolutely, I do.
There you go. So, because she knows how to cook, I just put the ingredients in because she doesn't have to measure it because she knows what tastes good. And I don't know what it is with our schools at the minute. There's no grades. It's not a grade like an A, B, C, or D within their class time. It's like a 3-1 or a 7-2 or a 9-6. And I'm like, I've got no idea if one's good or bad. It's like someone giving you a deck of cards and saying, let's play fuck up. Like you've never heard of it. You don't know what counts for what.
Shithead's a good game, though.
Yes, it is. It's a good game.
It's weird. I always thought that Shithead was a card game that was specific to my school and college.
No.
It was weird because it just seemed like such a random game that was just like, you know.
Mate, we
everybody fucking knows it.
That and speed.
Do you know Shithead? Like, put in the comments if you know the game Shithead.
Yeah.
Also, and if you would eat a piece of your thumb or another body part if you cut it off.
What would you do with the... Yeah.
What would you do with a 5p or a dime-sized piece?
A thin slice.
Yeah.
People eat scabs all the time.
Do they?
Don't they?
Jamie's
Do you eat scabs?
No.
Hold on.
I don't
That's
know
it's not a direct no from Jamie. That was a, well, that means yes. What? Hesitation means yes. Yeah, he's just, it's in my mouth now. God, down it goes.
Scabs are things that you get when you're a kid, though. You don't get scabs when you're a grown-up, do you?
It depends if you just fuck around with kitchen gadgets.
Scabs is for like taking the skin off your knee, falling off your fucking skateboard or something.
If you get a good one.
Yeah.
That's like a 5 chewer, that is.
5 chewer.
You can get a good bite out of that.
Did I tell you about, you know that time I was, where I put those fucking holes in front of my shins? Did I ever tell you about that?
No.
Oh, mate. So, that was the chair creaking.
Definitely.
I promise. So, I was in Nottingham Embankment, and I don't know whether it's still there. There was a building that was it was used for like football changing rooms and stuff because it was surrounded by football pitches.
Okay.
Let me put my leg down for a minute. So, and it had like these like concrete steps that was probably about a foot and then a foot and then a foot. Like there were big steps. Yeah. But they had a sharp concrete edge on them. Anyway, I used to do like a run, like a 3-4 mile run before Thai boxing. So I'd run from my house along the embankment and into town. But I would stop there sometimes and do like plyometric drills, like jumping up and whatever.
Okay.
And then I'd run
on the steps.
And then I'd run into town and go and do a couple hours of Thai boxing. My fucking
gas
tank.
Just in the middle of the market square.
My gas tank back in the day was ridiculous. It was ridiculous. Anyway, so on this particular day, I was there, I was doing these jumps, and I managed to get my toes on the edge.
Did time stand still?
Mate, honestly, because I'd done a bunch of reps and I was getting kind of tired and a bit lazy. And I was doing maybe 3 steps up. So there was a bit of distance to travel. Anyway, I leapt and I got the toes of my trainers on it and then slipped off. And I landed symmetrically, if you imagine these are my shin bones, symmetrically on the edge.
Bang and drag?
Bang. No, just bang. Ooh. Literally, I just hit it and bounced off. And I put a fucking hole, like a bullet-sized hole, in the front of both of my shins that went like almost all the way down to the bone. It was like the yellow fatty tissue.
Yeah,
right?
don't eat that.
So me being me at the time, I think I was maybe 16. Just ran into town to go to Thai boxing. But by the time I got there, my shins and my running shoes were just covered in blood, like kind of squelchy a little bit because they were bleeding a lot.
Why is it wet now?
Yeah. So anyway, I tidied it up, and my Thai boxing coach said he sent me home, and he said to get these. I don't know what they're called. They're
iodine patches.
Yeah, but they're like clear, like plastic patches.
Okay, like the tattoo skin.
Yeah,
you get now.
I've used one to heal a tattoo before. Actually, now you say it. But it's like pieces of plastic, and you just stick it over the wound, and it heals underneath it without it scabbing over. Oh. And I had a fight 2 weeks later, and these things were going to take a fucking long time to heal. I've still got the scars on my shins now. In fact, Gordon James tattooed over one when he did my Neptune the other week.
Feel it?
A little bit. It was a little bit.
Makes this burn, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does a bit. But yeah, fucking put these 2 holes in my shin. So anyway, I actually went home and I shaved the hair around so this fucking thing would stick and stay. And I'm like, I'm going to leave this on until it comes off and it's healed.
Yeah.
2 weeks later, it's still on my shins, and I'm going to this Thai boxing fight because I want to fight. I'd not kicked anything for the last 2 weeks because I couldn't because of my shins. So I'm like, I got there and I thought before I do my medicals, I'm just going to take them off and wipe them. And I was fucking hoping that I was just going to wipe it and it was going to be clean, fresh
healed.
Skin. And it fucking wasn't. I still had these 2 big fucking holes. You see it? Oh, no, there's the scar.
Look at it. And you were 16.
Yeah, 16.
Jeez.
16, 17. If I was 17, I was only just 17. Yeah.
That's horrific.
Honestly, I can feel a dent in both my shin bones from it.
It's when your brain knows way faster than your body what's happening. You know what I mean? I can see it. You know, your brain's already telling you on the way down, right? Yeah. Imagine how quick you fall.
You know it's coming.
But your brain's going, fuck, dude, this is going to fuck. No, you know how much this is going to hurt. And it's like it's having a conversation with itself.
Oh, it was bad.
But my thing was, because obviously you got those, and those are from where you were when you were 16, because you were probably man-sized, whereas I didn't grow until I was about 21. I mean, I met stage, I was 5 foot. Like, I used to get pulled up on my motorbike all the time. And like, people pull me up, like, have you got a license? I'm like, yeah, do you want to see it? Do you want me to put some points on? I'm like, what the fuck? You asked me a question. So I can remember being on holiday, and it's probably the last holiday I went on with my mum before you kind of sack all that stuff off when you get a bit older. And I was 15. And we'd gone to Minorca, and we had a pool that was just for our little, where the apartments were. So there's like, I don't know, 50 buildings, but it was fucking brilliant because for whatever reason in Spain, every pool is 1 million meters deep, and it just had the normal edge all the way around the pool, just a rectangle.
So you can do the diving down, getting the 100 pesetas from the bottom.
That's it, yeah.
That's what it's for.
Or how many spoons can you get in one breath? Did you ever do that?
No.
Oh, mate, our rep was a bit of a dickhead.
How many spoons?
He'd get a load of, like, serving spoons.
Oh, okay.
And he'd chuck them in the deep end, and you had to dive in
and see
how many you could grab within one breath. So, yeah, we used to do that most years, but it was probably not the best thing to do. Just come up with a load of spoons, take a kid's head off. I've got the servers. People can't eat the tiramisu.
Sitting there with the yogurts.
Yeah, what the fuck? And I was running, and because I was 15 and I was the oldest kid out of my family that was there, I obviously knew best, and I was striding round the pool, but I was doing it to a point where I was cutting the corner. And this is like, what, the 5th or 6th day in, and I'd made a few friends. Some of them were girls, so I was overly working it, just flexing. Of
course.
And I was...
How old were you at this point?
15.
Okay.
Oh, no,
okay.
No, actually, I was probably 15, 16, because I had my provisional license because it got wet when I went head first in. But I was bounding round the pool, and literally my trailing leg slipped and threw me backwards into the pool, but I hit my ankle bone, so it went white. I hit my shin and my knee, right? So obviously you've got 3 hits down my calf and my foot. But now, because I had this sudden growth spurt, those scars are here. And my skin, it's just like pulling a pair of tights on. It's just pulled all the way up. I've never been able to get over how clever it is, how it can repair and fix.
Yeah.
because like we were saying outside, I didn't know if this was going to be forever flat. But it's kind
Forever flat. I wanna be. That's what we were singing.
Yeah,
outside.
it was.
Yeah.
But I don't know if I'm going to get the round tip back. But I quite like the custom element of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's signature, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
I used to train with a guy called Andy Harby, a legend of a guy. He was fucking awesome. And he was like, he was always a fascinating guy. He drove a Jag, but didn't have driving gloves.
Oh.
Come to think of it. Although I never checked his glove box. There might have been
There
in
you
there.
go. Maybe you would have been embarrassed.
Well, maybe. I mean, he was a farmer, so he was either driving his Jag, which he loved because it had some kind of super sport button.
Of course it did.
So he would like pull up to people at the lights who obviously didn't think his car was going to go as quick as theirs.
And he'd just fuck 'em
and
off.
he'd just
Amazing.
Anyway, or he'd be driving like a proper Land Rover Defender.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Like a
Old
farm
school,
Land
yeah.
Rover Defender.
Where
you know?
did that come from? World War One, mate.
Yeah.
All right, fair enough.
Like jigsaw mats stacked up in the back, and you have to kind of dust off a bit of cow shit as you're loading them into the gym, kind of, proper fucking hardcore. Anyway, he was brilliant, Andy was. And he'd done a bit of everything. Like he'd been a driving instructor, and he'd worked security, and he'd been like a bounty hunter, like tracking people down, and he'd done a whole bunch of different things. Now he ran a farm. Anyway, how'd I go? Oh, yeah. So he was a bit of a wild man. He fought MMA even though he had no kneecaps, and he was just a fucking hulk of a man.
Yeah.
We used to call him the Wookiee monster because he was just full of fucking hair.
Terrifying.
Yeah. But he was a handful. Black belt Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, just used to manhandle people. Fought in cage rage a couple of times, actually. Anyway, he had a motorbike accident a few years before I met him, which is what had created this strange situation with his legs. So he couldn't bend his knees past 90 degrees.
Oh, shit.
Like that was the limit of them.
Yeah.
So he was, and if you're listening, Andy, which I'm sure you're not, because you've got better things to be doing. If I get this story incorrect, it's only marginally because it stuck in my head so clearly when he told me. So he was on a motorbike. He was a big biker, and he was taking a corner on a country lane, and the back wheel skidded out from behind him. The bike skidded off, and he was belly down, sliding away.
Yeah.
On his front with his legs up behind him, and he went into the curb with both knees, and it broke both of his femur at the same time, and they came they came through the front of his legs.
Oh.
So he has this fucking massive cave-like scar on the front of both of his legs above his knees, and he always talked about getting a Tasmanian devil tattooed in one of them because it looked like a cave.
Amazing.
But he had these big like arch-shaped scars on the front of his legs. They had to drill into his hip bone and go down and put a rod through the femur on both legs.
Whoa.
But then, of course, he's got no kneecaps, so they rebuilt his knee like a knuckle.
Oh, nice.
So it's got like a 90-degree hinge. I mean, it worked fine.
So he can walk?
Yeah. But he had these fucking mad scars on his legs.
Wow.
And that was so... And obviously, he's on a late country lane at night.
No one's
gonna see him, but he knows his mates are on their way around on their bikes. So he folds his fucking legs up onto his chest and pulls himself back onto the side of the road so they'd see him.
Jeez.
Mate, he was fucking hard as nails, Andy was. I used to do sparring sessions with him. He used to come to Portland Leisure Centre and train with me. And we'd just, if the mats or the sports saw was being used, we'd just use a squash court. But we wouldn't put mats down.
No.
So it was basically just a wooden and concrete box, and he would just fucking bounce my head off the walls.
Jeez.
He was just boom, boom. And because, of course, it's a squash court, there's a balcony. So all my mates from work would go and fucking stand and watch me get beaten up by
Are they just
this
having a fight?
big old fucking farmer.
Wookiee monster.
God, he was a monster.
It's crazy to think the amount of pain you can endure or things like that can happen, but you can't inflict on yourself. Do you know what I mean? You know when, like, if you trap your finger in a door, it fucking kills. It's not the end of the world, but like you try and do it on purpose.
Yeah.
And when I made that film with Sam, so it was like an indie film that we made that was, fucking years old. But he basically, it was a flashback to me being young and having my only ever job in the movie, which was a paper round. And we went to Sam's actual childhood home in Little Eaton. in Denby Village. And basically it's a station house, and it's like an old station house with a curb that drops and then a curb that comes up, and then it's just main road with big old stone walls and pubs and shit. So really, really picturesque, really nice. And I'd got the oldest of my younger brothers to come along and be the bully as part of this little skit. So gets up to Sam and he was like, right, dude, all I need you to do, full bollocks on your BMX and just hit that curb and go. And I was like, I said, fuck, what? He says, like, so basically, I need you to do like a fall, so I just need you to fly along, hit the curb, over the handlebars, like, really, really play it up. I was like, play it up? I said, you're fucking killing me. And he's like, no, you'd be fine, And I think I was about 19 at the time. I mean, I was clean shaven, so I looked about 11. So I had an old, can you remember Pugwall?
Yeah.
Nobody tell me what to do. Yeah, so the old shitty Australian bike helmets, I had one of them on because my mum had found it from fucking somewhere. So I looked like a proper Melvin. And so I tried to throw myself into this curb the first time, and I didn't chicken out, but I didn't hit it as hard as I would if it was a crash. So I ended up saying to him, look, what I'm going to do, let me just try something. You just got to go with it. So I went over to my brother and I said, I need you to look like you're kicking me. So instead of me hitting a curb, I need you to kick me off the bike, but don't tell me when you're going to do it. So basically, we're flying along together and Will just looks up, hoofs me in the side and sends me over this stone wall, which is now in Sam's old neighbour's garden, and I'm lying in the flower bed. She came running out thinking it had been an accident, and I was lying on like the grave of their cat. Their garden was fucking huge. I was this big, and I managed to land the whole of me on the grave of their sacred cat.
Oh dear.
But yeah, it always blew my mind that you can never you can't put that same sort of pain on.
Yeah.
It's just, when it happens, it's one of them, like you snap your finger all the way back and you think, oh, that's fucked.
Yeah.
But then...
I did that I've done it a couple of times in a fight. I think it was this hand. I was in an amateur MMA fight, and I was in guard, or I was ground and pounded, and I hit the guy, and my thumb just felt odd, and I looked at it, and the top part was bent the opposite way.
Oh shit!
And
which one was Anthony Johnson?
That was this thumb, and that was on that first takedown. It just dislocated. I put it back in, but it's just not in the right position. What
was the worst injury you got fighting?
You know what? I often think about this. I've been fucking really, really lucky. Really lucky. Because, like, if I look at some of the other guys, like Bisping, he's fucking wrecked.
Yeah,
you know
he rattles, doesn't he?
Like Felder, and he's into triathlon now, which I think is fucking awesome. It's incredible what he's doing now. But, like, he took such a beating when he was fighting. Yeah. Like, fractured ribs, punctured lung, broken orbital bone. Like Stefan Struve, like double fracture on his jaw, that kind of shit. Mate, I have had 5 stitches. I've broken my nose 5 times. I've cracked a couple of ribs. I've dislocated most of my fingers. I don't tend to break.
No.
Touch wood. I don't tend to break. I tend to dislocate.
Okay.
Which is annoying and painful, but it's not like, as long as you're diligent with the recovery and the rebuilding of it, it's generally all right. My shoulders have always been good. My knees have always been good. I've fucked up my ankle pretty bad, and that still pisses me off to this day. Sometimes it'll just kind of lock up.
But nothing like sidelining.
I think the worst thing I had to deal with, which took forever, was a partially dislocated jaw, and I did that lazy sparring with a friend of mine, Gary. It was at Legends, and I was just starting my training camp for Marcus Davis.
Oh shit!
And it had been a while since I'd sparred any southpaws, so I thought I'll grab a couple of my friends who were southpaw. He was there. Alan Jaban was okay. one of the guys who used to come in and do southpaw rounds with me, and I'd just done a couple of rounds, and I was like fucking 210 pounds, and I was kind of heavy and head like a fucking basketball, man. Honestly, I just eating Subway and stuff. Anyway, and I was just kind of having like a lazy boxing round, and Gary just caught me clean with my mouth open right on the side of my jaw, and it popped here, and I bit down, and it went back in.
Ooh.
And I was like, oh, it's okay. But then for the rest of the day, like I had not very much movement in my jaw, and it was fucking agony all the way down this side. So I was eating soup and drinking smoothies for probably 3 or 4 days after that. But then that was a problem for ages, because sometimes I'd just get caught wrong on it, and it'd be like, oh, fuck.
Instant pain, straight back.
And afterwards, while it was healing, I used to, I'd wake up in the morning, and I'd either been clenching my jaw, during my night, and it was locked shut. Or I'd been relaxed and my mouth had fallen open, and then it would fall out of place, and it would be locked open. So I'd have to like kind of fucking get it back into place. I remember I'd do that. I'd grab it in front of my two front teeth, and I'd pull it until it popped back into place.
When was the last time that happened? When was the last time you had
that? A good while ago now. Oh, okay. I've been really lucky with it, but I feel like I could pull it out there though. I could just I would just pull it and it would just kind of move and be in the right position, and it would ache for an hour or so, and then it'd be all right.
Whoa. We'd have to change your name to Trapjaw from He-Man. Paint it green.
Yeah, but aside from that, cracked ribs were annoying, but you can't do much about it. You know,
you just got to wait, haven't you?
Yeah, it's
the little injuries as well that I think will build up over time. You know, like look at Bisping with his eye, and Winklejohn. Is it Winklejohn that's got from a toenail that sliced his eye? Oh, what the fuck?
Yeah,
what the chances?
Yeah, that happened to me though when I was doing taekwondo. I got a nail in the eye and it cut my eye. Mate. I was lucky. I mean, it bled, but I
wasn't like. No. A lot of us walk around quite cocky that we've got two eyes, not worrying that you're going to lose one. But once you get down to one, you're like, holy shit, this is. I've got to be fucking careful.
Yeah, yeah.
But even nut kicks, to take an actual full-on nut kick from a professional athlete that kicks for a living.
Like, people don't realise how good groin guards are.
Yeah.
How much protection they give you. Because fucking hell, if you get caught in the groin without one of those on,
you wouldn't want to take one straight.
Especially some of the shots that we see. And I know they're not perfect, and sometimes they do move around. I remember a cricket player, I remember seeing this on the news.
I think I know what you're going to say.
Do you know? It cracked.
And then the happy lad went inside.
Oh, pinched it, the
and
motherfucker.
Then resealed.
Oh.
Mate. Oh. Yeah. Horrible.
Oh, mate.
Horrible.
Awful. It would look like if you trod on a bit of chewing gum wearing a pair of Converse.
Yeah.
And it just squeezed out the side of the...
Yeah. What's that? Might be Miss Sack. Might be the Frank. Might be the beans. Who knows?
Oh, no.
It could be the Frank and the beans. Jesus. I know one of my mates, he wasn't really a mate, he was a bit of a scumbag, but he was a lad at our school. He often used to fake groin injuries from whatever session we were doing to go and see the nurse, because he quite liked her. She was like 47, we were about 11, 12, and he was like, yeah, she smells nice. We're like, what? She smells nice, and she just, she makes sure I'm all right. I was like, is there something you need to tell us? And he's like, no, she just looks at my tail, make sure it's okay. And I was like, what the fuck? You want to, like, religiously would go to the nurse. Yeah, fucking Twiggy, you twat.
Name and shame.
Yeah, well, fuck them.
Name and shame.
But they, honestly, weird fuckers, but what can you do?
Yeah. Did you watch the fights, 270?
I did.
Should I pull the card? Should we have a quick chat about that?
Well, should we talk about how disappointed I am about Brandon Moreno? Not getting the win.
You felt the same.
Completely,
you felt the same.
Exactly
okay,
the same.
I know people were giving Veronica and I shit in the comments on the Picks podcast, but yeah, I could make an argument for him winning 3 rounds
without a doubt.
Like MMA Verdict had him winning as well.
He won
by a margin. Yeah.
The fact that Davis and Figueiredo didn't leave the octagon as soon as it was finished disappointed, even though he had a good fight.
Yeah.
The fact he stuck around to see if he might have won, I thought was laughable. I'm sat there with my cup of tea at, I don't know, 3 a.m, thinking, look, keep walking, dickhead. You're going to another weight class, my friend. You, my little Lego baby, we are going the full weight. And then when he lost it, I was like,
yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Cecil Peoples in the fucking building.
Mate, Veronica and I said the same thing. We were like, what?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know whether people... like, I watched the clip of... I was watching MMA Hour before we started recording the other day, and what's his name was on while they were waiting for Cejudo to come on. The fucking Walid Ismail.
Oh,
he's just such a odd individual. I find him fascinating to watch, but irritating at the same time.
Okay,
but he was the one that was hanging over him at the side, with the bald head, and he's got 8 people on fucking FaceTime, and so they're all on camera with him and stuff, and he's just like overly promoting, but he was showing clips on his phone and holding them up to the fucking Skype on Ario's show, and he was going like 7 knockdowns, 7, and I'm like, you can't count taking someone off their feet with a low kick a knockdown.
No,
a knockdown is
you got knocked
a concussive
down.
Knockdown.
Swept is
like
different.
Not even getting knocked off your feet because you're off balance.
Yeah.
Like, that's a judgment for the judges to make, but. You also can't score a whole round based on one big punch being landed.
No.
It's not about that either,
And the thing is, I like Davison. I really like Figueiredo, and it was a wicked fight. It was a really good fight. I just don't feel that it went the right way.
Yeah.
So as much as, I mean, there's fucking fights going through the ages that we could always push the other way, and it wasn't a preference for person. It was just I was really surprised. And then when I can't remember who I was talking to, and they were like, "Oh no, I thought he won it."
Yeah.
And to me, it was black and white, and I don't know if it's that thing that I've watched it bias. Or I'm watching one more than the other.
Maybe.
I've only watched it once.
Veronica and I may have watched it a bit biased, but I mean, I did feel like Moreno was doing a lot of good work, and I felt like Figueiredo was a little bit stifled a lot of the time. But I am going to watch it again. I've not had a chance this week because I've been working on the Adesanya Whittaker breakdown, which fucking took me a week.
Really?
Yeah. Normally, I sit here and edit the playlists and send them over to get edited and sent back to me. Just like they basically replicate them in a higher resolution, and so I can use them in my iPad for the show. And normally I can sit and do my research and my notes and the playlists in 2 days. Yeah, that's pretty standard. It took me 4 days this time. Like honestly,
because of the thoroughness.
There's just fucking
is it thoroughness?
There's just so much. There was so much to take in. Like with Ngannou and Gan. Yeah, I mean, they're complex individuals in their own right, but it was quite easy to go, and obviously, it's nice to get surprised like we were in the main event, because no one could have predicted that Francis' wrestling was going to look like that unless you're in his camp. I thought he looked great, but then like as I'm going through, I'm like, okay, well, we know Francis is incredibly powerful. He's he's great at scrambling. He's hard to hold down. He's getting better by the fight. And if he applies his strengths to grappling in any sense, it's going to be lethal. And same thing for Cyril. You go, in and out movement, building a striking game up, like dismantling an opponent like he did against Derek Lewis, and then starting to find opportunities to throw in things like his flying knee or his setup for his body kick or whatever. Like you kind of look at the two fights and you go, okay, those pieces, and that's the show. But with this one, the most interesting thing about it was, like, when they met the first time, Whittaker had been out for ages. Yeah. And he'd been out because, I mean, take away the second Yoel Romero fight, which was awkward in itself.
But both wars. That one was a split decision, supposed to be a title defense, but wasn't because Romero missed weight. And in the meantime, Adesanya has made his debut after the first Romero fight when Whittaker was already Interim. All the limelight.
Straight away.
All the limelight was on him.
People were like, holy shit, this kid's going to be amazing. There was loads of hype, and he marketed himself really well, as he does. He's a very marketable individual. And then all of a sudden, like, there was this cascade of him. I mean, he went, Rob Wilkinson stopped him, split decision against Marvin Vettori. And then it was the Rob Whittaker fight against Romero the second time around. And then you get a run of 4 fights, which is like Tavares, Brunson. I don't know who I can't remember who else it was now. But anyway, he ended
was
up
just playing with them as well, wasn't he? Because there was that mystique that stood behind him.
That's it. But it was like, as he was, Anderson Silva, of course. Thiago Tavares.
Brad
Tavares, Derek Brunson, Anderson Silva, Kelvin Gastelum.
Yeah.
And when he fought Gastelum, he was ranked number 5.
Yeah.
And Gastelum was ranked number 4. And that was for the interim belt.
And it was a slugfest, wasn't it?
And it was a slugfest. But then the next fight happened after that. And Adesanya's kind of, like, it was almost like they were on an equal footing.
Yeah.
But then Whittaker's coming in, watching all this happen while he's been out with injuries and recovering from various different things.
There's a load of personal stuff as well. Did he say that enough? There was rumours that he was donating kidneys to his daughter and stuff.
Yeah, he was just burnt out. He was just really, really burnt out. So then, like, when he went into the first fight, I don't think he was himself. It wasn't a good example of him. And so it was like Rob Whittaker had his middleweight career, Adesanya had his middleweight career, and then they met. And then since then, they've alternated fights.
Yeah.
It went Adesanya Romero, Whittaker Till, Adesanya Costa, Whittaker Cannonier.
That's it.
Adesanya Blachowicz, Whittaker Gastelum, Adesanya Vettori 2.
Yeah.
And now they're fighting again. So the fact that they've been able to alternate fights since, that I think it just makes it really interesting. But it just fucking pulled me into this hole. It just sucked me in, and I was in it for like a few days, like going back and watching the fights through in order. And I don't know, man.
It's almost like
it lost my mind doing this one.
It's like trying to watch Lost and making sense of it. The old series Lost.
Yeah.
But
I should have thrown a polar bear in there.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, well, Vittori via Polar Bear against Adesanya. But with them, the thing for me is it's always about mental space, especially because there's a lot of times where you can head and heart something, especially with a fighter. But it always comes, obviously, it comes down to skill and are you going to land certain punches or what are you going to do? Because we've even said it before when you look at when he fought Romero and Bobby Knuckles is on the back foot and he's calm and he's careful and he just keeps catching him. But then he sort of took the role of that and ran at Adesanya, which I don't know if it's because he was exhausted and fed up and just kind of done with everything that he was either not making mistakes but not really processing everything properly. And obviously when you've got something, and a lot of fighters have been documented in the past of either divorce or just hardships in their life, because as much as you're going to get some money or whatever at this high level, there's still other shit that comes with that. With like, look at even Tyron Woodley. Tyron Woodley at one point was like, you'd always see him taking his kids to the fights and everything else. And then all of a sudden it's Rashad, sorry. Rashad was flying so high and just taking over the world. And it was always around his family and stuff on the embedded. And then all of a sudden you just saw him on his own. It was when the Black Zillions cropped up and he kind of just sort of positioned himself over there a little bit. Yeah. And there was a big change in stuff. And as much as like you're not fighting with anyone else in there with you, but having that stability on the outside, for me as a fan that hasn't fought but can see camps and people and even support members of groups, like you've got, even when you look at the like Alpha Male, what's my mate's name who got knocked out? Little dude. And he's basically like the head coach there. I can't remember his name. He was on Tough.
Holdsworth?
Yes.
Yeah, or Buchholz?
Holdsworth.
Okay.
But
he's out because of concussion though.
Yes,
he doesn't fight anymore.
But he's a solid, one of the most important members of that team. And even though they're not on the front line, the amount that they matter for that team is important. And obviously if Rob Whittaker, like you look at him against Till, and that's champion again. That's champion material because that was Till trying.
He didn't fight like a champion against Adesanya. He rushed. It was like he was trying to prove something, and Adesanya came in fighting like the champion. Yeah, and that's what was weird about it. And then when he went in there against Till, he did the same thing in the first round. He ran into an elbow, but then he was able to kind of, he was able to really kind of pace himself well over the next 4 rounds. And then Adesanya did the same against Romero. He got caught big in the first round. Yeah. I mean, he lost the first 2 rounds on a couple of scorecards, but then was able to kind of technical it after that, kept chopping him up with low kicks. I just think they're in a much, much better place now to be fighting. And Whittaker, after the Adesanya fight, took, 9 months off. And when I spoke to him before the Till fight, and he was just, you could just tell he'd had enough. Yeah. I remember him telling me a story about running up sand dunes. And he just kind of got to the top of one and he was like, why the fuck am I doing this? Yeah. He just had enough. And he took a break. And then it was jiu-jitsu that got him back into the gym. Like putting on a gi and going and kind of moving around and stuff. And like approaching it back like from a student and a martial artist perspective instead of the pressure reset. Of being a pro, Yeah. I think it was a lot more internal for him than anything else. Because he seems to have the same team around him all the time.
But I think even with that, there's always got to be a time when you can just, if you need to stop, you should. Yeah. Does that make sense? Yeah. Because like, looking at him now and what the performance he's putting on, he's been incredible. But I don't know if it's because he was Australian or because he wasn't as the same name, but you imagine what he was following. He was following Anderson Silva, Weidman, and like those sort of legacies were just the most popular at the time. So you've got Anderson Silva that people couldn't help but watch, and then Weidman came along and just killed everyone from Brazil. Yeah. And even though if you liked him or you didn't like him, they either wanted to see if this guy's for real because he could class the first one as a fluke, then the other Anderson was a bit of a fluke. He got tuned up a bit by Belfort, and so it's one of them where you were never sure. And because Bobby Knuckles came along and sort of was overshadowed a bit. I'm not saying he came along. I know he was in the Ultimate Fighter. He had his achievements, but it was never. He could never get any, screamed about.
No, and he could never get any momentum because he fought Yoel Romero with a knee injury and got his knee more injured in that fight. And then I'm sure he had a hernia issue, and then he had a like a stomach staph infection that he had to get treated. Like, he's had a bunch of bad luck.
Yeah.
But then, like, going back into the Till fight, I remember speaking to him, like, week of the fight, and he was in a much more, like, relaxed situation, even though it was 5 rounds. And he was even more relaxed against Jared Cannonier because he was fighting 3 rounds. And that was...
Imagine that.
Mate, he was talking about it like it was a treat. It was like, 3 rounds, I can't...
Fancy that.
That's great. It's
How lucky am I?
Like, the last time he fought 3 rounds was 2016 or something. It had been a while.
That's fucking long.
It had been a while. But yeah, he had a rough path. Like, as soon as he changed to middleweight, he fought Clint Hester. And then it went Brad Tavares, Uriah Hall, you know what I mean? Like,
all top names.
Like, all top names, all ranked apart from the first person he fought. And I bet he felt like he worked so fucking hard to get to the interim belt. And then he had a hard fight against Romero. And then he came in to defend it, to prove it. Yeah. And he had another hard fight. Romero didn't make weight. And then the whole chaos afterwards of Bisping fighting GSP and then relinquishing the belt. And then Whittaker's make the actual champion. But they've now handed an interim belt out to Adesanya.
As well.
It was just, the whole thing was weird. And I couldn't help but watch it then from his perspective and think to myself, like, and obviously with all the stuff that's going on with Ngannou, like, I don't agree that I didn't agree with them creating an interim title for Cyril. No, they just didn't need to do it.
What? Yeah, it's got to be like Frank Mir nearly died. And it took him a long time to think, should we have an interim?
Yeah.
Fuck, well, maybe,
Makes
lads.
Perfect sense.
That's fine.
Yeah.
But don't be like, oh, well, he's off 1 fight or he's not training this week.
Yeah.
That's not a reason to put an interim out.
That's it. It's got to be like, I mean, an injury that's going to put somebody out, but you don't want to strip them of their belt. Fair enough.
Yeah.
Like, if they've been out for a year and they're healing an injury and not making any progress, then fair enough, they might have to relinquish their belt at 12 months. But I think 6 months is a reasonable amount of time to let a champion fucking have a minute after winning the belt or defending.
Quite a few champions will only fight twice a year anyway.
Yeah.
But do you think they do it for the marketability? Do you think that's all it is? Just so they can say it's a championship fight?
Yeah, no, that's exactly what it is.
Yeah.
I think they have an agreement. I think they must have some kind of agreement that the top fight of the card has to either be a title fight or a like a top contenders fight, like a number 1 contenders fight, and I don't think that's the same for all of the fights, but I do think there's an onus to do that. Yeah. Plus, the other thing as well is, wasn't Cyril's fight for the interim on the same card as Nunes?
Yes, and
they wouldn't have wanted to put the heavyweights under the female bantamweights.
Right.
So they would have. That's another reason
so that's
why
then
that
pips that, because they're slightly heavier.
Because it becomes a title fight.
Okay.
It's weird promotional games. That's what it is.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's necessary because it kind of muddies the water. Like, going back into the middleweight history and trying to figure out who was where and what and why interim belts were being created, and it was just odd. It was just a mess. But then, like, if you look at it specifically from Whittaker's perspective, he must have felt like he worked so fucking hard to get there.
He never got
his parade. He's finally got the belt, and now he's coming in to defend the belt against someone that's now got an interim belt, which is the new belt as well. That's the other thing to remember. It was like Whittaker standing there like last year's fucking model.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? With the old belt, and then you've got Adesanya there on the other side with the brand new one. And
exactly.
It just, I don't know. It looked like
they
were trying to phase him. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. He was one of the fucking sand people in the discount bin. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Which one do you want?
Like trying to phase him out. That's how it kind of.
It did come across that way.
Yeah, I mean, I know that wasn't the case because he was injured and that was the reason why he was out. But it just kind of made it. I think it changed the narrative going into the first fight. And I think now coming in, he looks at Adesanya and he goes,
"Beatable."
He goes, "He's the champion. I respect him. I have nothing to prove against him, aside from the fact that I do feel like I'm a better fighter. But to be that, I can't rush in and be crazy like I did the first time. I think he knows that now.
To me, it's a little bit like Forrest versus Anderson. And I'm not saying that Whittaker had the performance that Forrest had, because Whittaker put on a bit more when he was first against Izzy. But Forrest was a good fighter. There's no doubt. I mean, he was a completely different fighter to everyone we spoke about, but he was still a solid fighter that has held the belt. So he's climbed the mountain. But Anderson made him look bad because of...
That was unreal.
It was like the Matrix. But...
And he ran out of the octagon after that.
He did,
well.
yeah, with a broken jaw. Yeah. Ran out of the octagon with a broken jaw and got married, apparently.
Yeah.
Weird, but...
It was like someone showing him the next level that he didn't even realise was there. That's
Done.
how it felt.
I'm done. Yeah. And he's huge. The guy's
He's
fucking
massive.
huge.
He's massive. He's a monster.
So when you see the combo that Izzy caught Rob with, that's not something I think he'd normally catch him with. But if he's not playing his game, does that make sense?
Yeah.
So I'm more excited now that we've had them both go their own different paths, because Izzy still looks solid, but he has been shown up for a couple of holes. Do you know what I mean? So obviously, even if you look at Jan taking him down and smothering him a little bit, and in Gastelum or Vittori cracking him, Rob's got a game. And if obviously, like you say, he's got a clear head and he goes, okay, fair enough, you're the champ, pressure's off.
Yeah.
We've heard it a million times from people saying, I'm fucking glad the belt's gone. It was just too much pressure.
Yeah, Rose said that as well, didn't she?
Rose said it, Matt Hughes has said it.
Yeah.
Who else said it? There was a couple of people. I think Frank Mir might have said it once as well. But it's more just that a GSP. I just don't have to worry about it, because you're forever on guard. And it's one of them where, for me, this is about the mental state that you are in a fighter. Because if you use someone like Conor that is the hungriest kid in the world, and when I say he's come from nothing, I'm not trying to be disrespectful to his family or anything, but he wasn't a wealthy kid. He wasn't a wealthy young man, and he got everything he could and just hunkered down and just became obsessed. But then when he started to make it and it became more about the pantomime and the show, there was a bit more of the effort. So if he's got like a 70-30 split of his time for training and getting better, the 70-30 was training, and then 30 to like, oh, I'm going to video myself in that BMW, I'm going to buy my dad a Range Rover, I'm going to do this. And where your focus gets taken can soon consume enough of what talent is needing to be fine-tuned. So it's always interesting for me with someone like Rob that's gone up there, got to the top of the mountain and lost it for whatever reason, to see now what his refocused attempt will be, because what was important to him then to get there the first time is a fucking million miles away from what's important to him now.
Yeah.
But the skill might be sharper.
Yeah.
Because it's more... It's absolutely fine-tuned, because whereas before you're thinking, I might be in Fast and the Furious 9, and I'm going to get this, and someone's going to send me some Lego, and I can buy Tazos. Like, it doesn't fucking matter. He's just like, all right, well, I had it, and it was a bit shit, so fuck it. I'm going to do it myself.
Yeah.
So I'm really excited to see what's going to happen, and I'm it's 50-50 for me.
Yeah. I don't really have a preference either way. I like both of them. I enjoy watching both of them, and I think that's helped do the breakdown, because I really don't care which way it goes,
make a difference.
right?
Yeah.
But like, I can see that Whittaker wasn't himself in the first fight, and I do think that he's gotten better since. Like, he rushed against Darren Till and he ran straight into an elbow, but he was able to regroup and pull the fight back. Then he went in against Cannonier, who was, everyone was scared of Cannonier. He's a lethal individual, but he was able to outclass him with striking.
Yeah.
Just, consistently over 3 rounds, and nearly put him out in the third. And then against Gastelum, we saw the same kind of counter striking that he used against Cannonier and grappling.
Yeah.
And I think so, like with the last 3 fights, we've seen a nice development of his game that's going to set him in a good position for here.
They're just all of those are the building blocks that are coming together to then be the final. If this is the last chance to have a go at the belt, he's not that old either.
Yeah.
So if he can get it and run with it.
He's 31. I'm sure he's 31.
That's fucking crazy.
He's young. He's got a lot of time. And then, if I look at Adesanya's last, so Adesanya's had 4 fights since they fought. Like, Adesanya against Romero and Whittaker against Till were very much the same kind of thing.
Yeah.
Right? Rushed in the first round, got caught with a big shot, learned a lesson, and was able
Slow the fuck down.
it was able to take control of the fight. Am I right? 31, yeah, crazy, isn't it? 31.
Jesus.
I feel like he's been around for years.
Mate, I would have left school before he'd even started school.
Mate, I was
the fuck.
I know, right? I was on the Gold Coast when he won the Ultimate Fighter. I was at
really?
I was at the
Smashers?
event. Sat next to Ollie, who was living in Australia at the time.
Wasn't he? Didn't he do some of the? Because Dean was the coach, wasn't he?
Yeah, Dean was on the season.
On the season.
Oh no,
he
was on the season before. He was a coach on that season.
Ross,
it was Ross against Soteropoulos.
That was a fucking fight. If you haven't seen that fight,
oh, watch it.
I mean, there's enough ankle wraps and wrist wraps for the world to fucking survive. But it was a good fight.
I was there for that when he won Tough Smash. It was against Brad Scott, wasn't it?
Yes,
He beat Brad.
Yeah. But he always looked solid.
Always.
And he's always one that you could put money on. He was always a solid dude, and he always put in a performance. But because he wasn't so loud and there was no pantomime. It was just, and I think, I mean, we've been watching a lot of Australian Survivor and Australian Amazing Race. And because it was, I mean, to be fair, it was Stacey's dream to live in Australia, and that's where we made Moo. But we went there for 3 weeks, and it's a better England. I mean, whoever the fuck decided to send our convicts there and keep this, what the fuck? It's warmer. It's, I think, 30 times the size. It's fucking beautiful.
Yeah, but then you got to be careful putting a shoe on because something might kill you.
We'd get used to that, man.
You can't go for a swim in the sea because something might kill you.
Yeah, but we'd get used to it. You
Funnily enough, yeah, true. Funnily enough, I was watching that Dr. John Campbell the other day. I watch his videos, for the COVID updates and stuff around the world. He's fucking really good.
Okay.
And he was going through a bunch of statistics of like most likely things to happen, like in Australia. He was basically comparing the likelihood of getting COVID and dying from it to dying from skydiving and getting hit by a car.
Black Widow Spider.
You know what I mean? Yeah. It was like, and this was specific to Australia. It was like 1 in 100,000 chance of dying from skydiving.
Yeah.
Which to me that's not a good odd.
100,000.
100,000 people. That's only 2 football stadiums.
I still
like if you put 2 football stadiums through a skydive and you're going to lose 1 person every time. Like when you start thinking about that, you're like, hang on a minute, that's not.
My adult brain can't it just doesn't. It was just skydive. All I'm hearing is my child brain going skydiving.
I think by choice, if people want to go up into planes and just jump out without a parachute, fucking let them do it. Just don't let them do it above my house. I'm not bothered where they do it.
Yeah, not here or the gym.
No, yeah, exactly. But then it was like chance of getting attacked by a shark was 1 in 8 million, which I thought was pretty.
I can live with that.
Pretty reasonable. Although I think you can go looking for it in Australia if you.
I'm about to say, yeah, you might be teasing. There was a kid at Egg. He got bitten by a shark. He literally had the cartoon fucking mark here.
Did he? Yeah.
His name was Kerry. Yeah, he was a proper little dude. Nothing to make of him. Like he was just a little geeky dude like me. And one day he was like, "Oh yeah, we were playing 2 truths and a lie. You know, that stupid fucking horrible icebreaker you have to do." And he was like, "Whatever the 2 lies or the other lie was," and he was like, "And I got attacked by a shark," and no one guessed it, and he just went bang, and we're like, "Fuck!" And I even checked the week later that it wasn't makeup. Yeah, it was legit. He got bitten, like just grabbed on,
just munched, and then
thrown out.
Is that right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Didn't like the taste of him.
No.
Weird.
No.
I wonder
Tasted too British.
How old was he?
I don't know. Probably
no
like
flavour.
Turkey Twizzlers. Turkey Twizzlers and bad teeth. I don't know how old. I think he was about 14, 15.
Okay, so his scar might have moved then by now.
Yeah.
It might be on his legs or around his neck or something.
Just around his face. Yeah, that was bad.
Yeah, that is weird, isn't it?
So 1 in 8 million.
Fucking hell. Yeah. It's not bad odds, is it?
No,
it's not bad odds.
But why?
More chance of dying from skydiving than that.
Exactly. But
1 in 18,000 chance of getting murdered in an assault. 1 in 18,000. I thought that was
better off skydiving,
right?
No fucking
Safer
assault you
skydiving.
Skydiving with no parachute. What are you doing? 1 in 100,000, mate. Yeah. Who's the idiot?
Yeah, crazy.
That
crazy
was.
shit.
It was.
Do you watch that? The fucking Home or Away? What's it called? The fucking Here or Down Under. Mate, okay.
Home and Away?
Here's no. Here's a bit of a confession. I like property shows, right? Okay. I don't watch them very often because I don't watch TV.
Well, when people go over to see if they want to live there.
Yeah, you've seen that where they stand there with the cards, the laminated cards.
Yeah. I want
Australia!
to stay.
Yeah. You're like one of them's like the dad at the end. He's like, I don't fucking really want to move here. He's like, it's going to cost me a fortune.
Man's club.
He's going. And he's heard, Australia! You're like, oh, fuck.
He's going home, isn't he?
Australia. And you could tell he don't want to move, you know what I mean?
We'll catch up with him 3 years later. Yeah. Where's Dad? Fucked off home to Burnley. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, he's living on a narrowboat now on a canal.
He doesn't care. He used all his money on strippers and coke. He loved it.
Yeah. So you thought about moving there, did you?
Definitely.
Did you?
I mean, if I rang Stacey now and said I got tickets for us 4 to go and take the dogs, she would just start packing.
Yeah.
Literally wouldn't, like, I struggle because of my parents and other bits and bobs, but she would go in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
But the thing was, it was just better England.
Uh-huh.
So no one took themselves fucking seriously, and nowhere near to the point where you have the schmonts of like the Cambridge side of stuff. Do you know what I mean? It's just more down to earth, solid dudes.
Yeah, but is Is it because it's not England though?
Maybe.
Is it not better England? Is it in fact Australia?
No, it's better England. They completely get our
But
sense
if you
of humour.
moved all the wankers from England and you put them in Australia, then it's going to be just as bad, and you want to move back.
No, because you could kill them and blame it on snakes, spiders, and
and
other
now
shit.
you have a
Do you know what I
point.
mean?
See, that's where we made the mistake.
There
We
you go.
shouldn't have fucking hunted all the wolves and bears to extinction.
Exactly.
Fucking hell.
We could have just sent the convicts into the woods. Off you
There
go,
we
boys.
There we go.
There's some cream eggs in the woods.
There we go.
Is that?
Here we go. It's like a fucking Hunger Games.
Yeah.
What's that weird Korean show that people like?
Oh, Squid Games.
There you go.
Yeah, that was fucked up.
We'll call it Bear Games.
Yeah. Wanker games.
Whack.
Are you a piece of shit? Yeah. Join the wanker games. What's the prize? You might live. Maybe. But Australians, as a rule, the ones I met, they weren't mad showy.
No, mate, I loved it over there.
There wasn't a massive amount of flex. Like one guy was in the sea, and we was doing a bit of surfing, and he was literally running at the sea on a skimboard, like, which is just a big piece of like plyboard, and just hitting waves, and just rocking all the way up, and then just coming back and having a chat, doing it again, like proper Joe Cool.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? If
that's what you see yourself doing then, was it?
no, it was the fact that he was doing that and there was no flex. Like, I would go and maybe catch a wave on a boogie board. He'd be like, dude, that was fucking amazing. I was like, hold on a minute. I don't need to be patronised. We can both act cool when we do an equal amount of our skill-based fucking work. But over here, the level of fucking... just the level of people. When you get to Boris's and stuff like that.
Down at Cornwall.
You can, but have you ever
Have
interacted...
2 wetsuits on and a woolly hat, you'd be fine.
But have you
And
interacted...
you won't have to interact with a box jellyfish while you're doing it.
That's it. So the pros and cons is the safe you might not die, but you might bump into a proper surfer prick
Yeah.
that looks at you and sees your brand new wetsuit from Aldi and just treats you like a piece of shit. And
Yeah.
the difference for me, they weren't all like that, don't get me wrong. I made a few friends in Cornwall, but it was more... There's a bit of hoity-toity about it. Do you know what I mean? There's a bit of poncy schmonts, I think, within England that they didn't that I didn't find in Australia.
That we didn't export.
We didn't export the schmonts, whereas the Borises and them, they
That's 'cause
should have
they
just
wouldn't have been
fucked
ended
straight
up in
off.
prison, that's why.
No, but that's it. We sent the wrong
Yeah,
fucking
we
ones.
did, didn't we?
We should have bounced. We should have had we'd have had an amazing fucking time.
You'd have been deported.
I'd have been sent back here.
You'd have been.
off.
You'd have just been on boats.
Yeah. I'd have been the captain.
Back and forth.
The captain of the shit ship. Wanker games at the harbour. So
Mate,
yeah.
I loved it when I was there. It's a beautiful place. It's, the people were awesome. Like, and so I was there. I've been there a few times. Probably 3, maybe 4. But one particular time I stayed there for a month.
Oh wow.
And so I did. Was it? Yeah, I did UFC Sydney. And then I drove up the Gold Coast,
nice.
Stayed there for a bit, and then did Byron Bay, and then went up to Brisbane where Ollie was living at the time.
Okay.
And then drove back down and flew out. Just did it just over a month.
It was like your own amazing race.
Fucking brilliant. Yeah, it was really cool. Really cool. But yeah, beautiful
But
place.
it was how similar it was, but again how different. But I mean, we landed in Sydney, then we flew to Uluru, and the fucking coldest pool in the world, in the middle of the fucking desert or the outback, whatever you want to call it. My thing, whenever I go on a holiday, the first thing I do is get in the pool. Mm-hmm. I will fly with my trunks on because I'm diving straight in the pool. And I don't ever get in like the thermometer test. You know where you dip until your nuts go cold, mate? I throw myself in so there's no fucking chance. So my whole body has to acclimatise at the same time. And that's a rule that I've always fucking lived by. So
You've never landed on a flat sheet of ice and skidded along on your ass, no?
this is the closest it
Fucking hell,
came
I've
to that.
seen some of
Took
those.
my nipples off. Pushed my nipples down to
See
my
that
knees.
video of that girl in the fucking bikini?
Yeah,
And then
runs
she was-
on a bomb.
Just takes her hat off at the time. It's like, that's not making no difference at all.
Mate, I've seen that, and the guy that runs out, looks at the camera and then tries to do a bomb, and he goes from a curled up bomb into like a splattered out frog. Fucking horrible. And we got to Uluru, and it was like that's all that's there. So there's Ayers Rock, and you do a sunset morning tour so you can see the sun come out. And then there was a not carols by candlelight, but it was like a dinner by candlelight where basically there was no light, so it was just all by stars, and they came around with like crocodile and emu and these different little taster things, which it was an experience. It's not. I wouldn't go out hunting an emu for it, but it was an experience. It was nice. And because the pool was in the middle, I was like, I'm going to go straight in the pool. It was empty, and I fucking ran. And the minute my fingers touched it, they almost went black with frostbite, and I just froze like an ice pole, like a Mr. Freeze, just straight in. And it's like I'd gone into gel, and I couldn't move my arms or anything. And Stacey was stood there watching me, and she's like, "This is taking a while." And I couldn't get one whole big. Came out, and I was like, "Just pull me." And obviously, she's so much smaller than me. She's like thinking, because I often play tricks and fuck about and act like a twat. I was like, "Please pull me out." And she's like, "Are you joking or is this serious?" I said,
I thought you were going to pull her in.
Yeah. Put your finger in the pool. And she literally touched it. It was like acid. She went, "Oh, quick." And like sort of scraped me up the side of this pool edging. Honestly, I went in, I said to the wife, why is the pool so cold? And she was like, "Is it cold?" And I was like, "It's fucking freezing, bro." And she's like, "Well, not many people use it. It's like we're going to the sea." And I was like, "There's no sea for fucking miles." It was horrendous. And definitely the coldest thing I've ever been in. Yeah, it's fucking awful. But yeah, I didn't learn a lesson. I still dive into any pool, little paddling pools.
I will say this as well about the Australian MMA fans. They have my respect because I've seen them in arenas at 6 a.m. ready for the start of the prelims with a beer in hand.
Fair play.
6 a.m.
Fair play.
On a Sunday morning.
Mate,
fucking unreal.
If you got a ticket, get there. That's it. Yeah.
Have you just been up all night?
We haven't been to bed since Wednesday, bro.
Fucking hell.
We were coming back after we'd done Uluru. We went to Sydney, Uluru, Port Douglas, Cairns, then Port Douglas, and Port Douglas was just like a really nice town, but it was quite like concentrated. So it was really cool. Wicked beach, really cool. And we kept going to this thing called the the Iron Bar, because Stace does a lot of research. And what she'd found was there was a restaurant downstairs, but upstairs was like a proper Aussie pub. And they had this massive table with this big disc on it, and they would put a bucket of toads on the table and basically lift the bucket up, and you all had a party blower to push or encourage your toad, friendly, to the edge. So whoever got past the line first won. And obviously you had to get raffle tickets for this thing, so we thought we'd join in. So they sort of did the whole, "Is there anyone from Australia in?" Yeah, big cheer. Anyone from America? Big cheer. Anyone from England? Me and Stace, the loudest roar, just us two. And we managed to get a game, and basically played this, got drunk, and we were on a shuttle bus back to our hotel. And there was us two and one other person on the bus. And basically, it looked like a rugby team was at the side of the road in pitch black, and one of them stood in the road, because this was a shuttle bus for our hotel. So it wasn't even like a fucking jump on if you want sort of deal. And he just stood there till he stopped, pissed up, and they all had they're called 20s, in America, the big glass. Yeah. They looked like council pop. You remember the cherryade ones and shit? Yeah. So it's like a litre and a half or whatever it is, 20 ounces, whatever. And they all got on with these beers. And I just shit my pants because I'm there with Stace. The person who was on with us got off. So I was like, fucking nice one, I'll take the big one. And they all came to the back. And it was literally like having 11 Taitui Vasses at the back of the bus. And we had the best laugh for like the whole 20-minute ride home. It was fucking brilliant. I was terrified for about 8 seconds until he passed me a beer and just started telling me stories about these like having a fucking, I can't remember what he was doing. It might get him in trouble. But it was fucking brilliant. And they were just what you'd expect to be scumbags.
And they weren't.
Yeah, salt of the earth.
In England, they would have been.
Oh, mate, they would have. They'd have fucking stabbed me straight. They wouldn't have given me a beer. Could you imagine that?
No,
not a fucking chance.
It might have hit you with one.
Yeah, without a doubt. Yeah. So fair play, Oz.
So who do you think is going to win, Whittaker or Adesanya?
I think Rob's. He's got more secrets. He's his skill set that he didn't show Adesanya the first time. So Whittaker went into it and got finished. And he saw some of the best of Izzy, which is good because that's experiences. Mm-hmm. But Izzy hasn't had that same experience with Rob. Mm-hmm. And it's like doing anything with anyone and beating them the first time and then fucking off and having another 3 years training. Mm. If you think you're going to win this the same way, or you think you think you've got their number, that's more dangerous.
Yeah.
And Izzy at the minute, I'm not saying he's distracted with other stuff, but he's constantly in the thoughts of other people, either John Jones or Dana, or are you going to go light heavyweight again? Are you going to do middleweight? And because of obviously the whole shift at the minute with Francis and fighter pay and a bit argy-bargy, his attention, I think, has been caught a bit more by like other shit than what's important. So I think Rob's got quite a unique arsenal that Izzy's not particularly seen, or especially he's not felt.
Yeah.
So I'd like to give a bit of an edge to Rob, but I'm still 49-51.
Yeah, I'm a bit bouncing back and forth, but I am leaning towards Rob a little bit, just mainly because of what we've seen in his last 3 fights. And if I compare what we've seen in his last 3 to what we've seen in Izzy's last 4,
yeah.
Like, I mean, I've got a bunch of stats in my head, which I might as well use them. So he's defended 15 of 22 takedowns since the last time they fought. Adesanya has.
Adesanya's defended
15 of 22 takedowns, right? So 7 takedowns got him to the floor, but the majority of the time he scrambled back to his feet fairly quickly.
Okay.
He never properly settled.
Yeah.
There were a couple of times, though, that he was taken down and he was held down.
Yeah.
And so he's actually spent 14 minutes on the floor in his last 2 fights against Blachowicz and and
Kelvin.
Vettori.
Sorry.
So you've got to think how that's going to look to Rob, knowing full well that as long as I keep trying to take him down, eventually I'm going to get there. And once he's there, he's going to struggle to get back up.
He's only got to do it once.
Yeah. And I've seen Izzy make weird choices on the floor.
Yeah.
Doing things that you wouldn't do if you I don't know. I don't want to sound like I'm criticizing him because I'm sure he's working really hard on his jiu-jitsu, but there are some things in his game that are bad habits that should have been worked out already.
Yeah.
You know, like certain things that he does in half guard where he's not controlling the leg of his opponent who's in top position and he's not looking for underhooks. Like against Vettori, he removed an underhook that he had and moved it across the other side of Vittori's head into an arm triangle position.
But it's almost like fundamentals.
Just
do you know what I mean? Like,
just basic principles. And when I see them those things, I look at Rob and think to myself, well, I've seen good progress since their last fight.
Yeah.
Izzy was very, very disciplined against Yoel Romero from the 4th round onwards. He showed a good low kick game.
Yeah.
I think he had to defend 3 takedowns. Against Costa, he showed an awesome striking game. But I didn't expect anything other than that from that fight.
No, he just rinsed and repeat, didn't he? Yeah.
The Blachowicz fight didn't really surprise me either because I was surprised a bit that Jan stood and struck with him for as long as he did.
Yeah.
First 2 rounds, and then he started grappling with him. But then we started to see the limitation of Izzy's game. But then I go, okay, but Jan's a light heavyweight.
He's a bigger dude.
Exactly.
A bit more exhausted.
And he did look like he was manhandling him a little bit, you know, when they were clinched. So then I think to myself, okay, well, maybe Izzy at middleweight, his takedown offense is far more formidable there, which in fairness it is, but only up against the fence.
Yeah.
Like, Vettori took him down out in the open by catching his kick, but any time Vettori was attacking him up against the fence, he would struggle to take him down.
Yeah.
So that's the decision that Izzy's got to make. Does he want to pressure forward, or does he want to defend takedowns with his back up against the fence?
Yeah.
Because if he's expecting Whittaker to take him down, he might put himself on the back foot by choice.
Yeah, because he's safer.
Yeah. And then Whittaker's got the choice of, do I strike or do I grapple?
Well, wasn't that when he was mocking Vettori when he was against the cage?
Yeah.
And and almost just like, oh no, you really hurt me. But that's it's interesting because if Rob can get him, because out of the, let's say, what did you say, 14 or 15 out of 22?
Yeah, 15 out of 22 takedowns is defended.
Okay, so that leaves you 7.
Mm-hmm.
But even if, let's say the Jan and Izzy, because he was a lot heavier and a bit more exhausted from the striking exchange and whatnot, he kept him off for 2 rounds and then succumbed to it for 3. Even if Rob can pinch 2, hugging, just 2 dominating hugging 100%. Rounds, where if he's slightly calmer and more calculated in the first couple of rounds, because we know Izzy's dangerous. We know his striking is ridiculous. So if Rob can avoid that for at least a couple, and then either even if he does put a bit of pressure on him on the cage, because that's what Randy used to do, that real close Greco-Roman, just like imposing his will on them at the cage, that will still take some energy out of Izzy. And obviously if Rob can then use that to get a couple on the ground, it makes it a close fight again. And it goes from being, because I think This is what I was trying to say earlier. I go from being like with head and heart, with a fan, I get a fan brain sometimes where I just want to see a knockout in 30 seconds, to other times being someone that's obsessed with this sport and followed it forever, that can appreciate what Ngannou did at the weekend or whatever. Because when you see Ngannou do that, you think, fucking hell, I want to see him knock someone out. So it doesn't get the credit that probably it deserved, because he survived a really dangerous opponent, then imposed his will and won. Yeah. But the fan in me, the 30-second Instagram fish brain, just wanted him to do a massive Mortal Kombat uppercut and kill him.
Yeah,
but
I know what you mean.
It doesn't always come.
But I think if Whittaker goes into this one a bit more measured, a bit more calculated, if he learns from the Yoel Romero Adesanya fight, what he'll realise is he actually doesn't have to do a great deal. Yeah. Like, the more he does, the more he's at risk. So the less he does, the safer he's going to be. Yeah. And it's enough. The stat blows my mind, which is why it stayed in my head. So in that first round, Adesanya landed 2 significant strikes on Yoel Romero. Yoel Romero landed 4 on Adesanya, and that was the difference in the fight. That was the difference in the first round, sorry. Like, he landed twice as many strikes. He landed 4 strikes on Adesanya.
Compared to 2.
And he won the round. He won the round on 2 scorecards. He won the round on 2 scorecards for the second round as well, from doing very little. Yeah. So, like, Whittaker just did far too much in the first round. Yeah. Like, in a metaphorical sense, he was running his mouth, if that makes sense. Yeah. He was just saying too much,
physically running
telling
his
him
mouth.
too much. Yeah. And I think if I don't even think he needs to grapple with Adesanya in the first couple of rounds if he doesn't want to, because I think that might have been the mistake that Vettori made. So, like, if you watch Jan went first round striking, second round striking, I'll grab you and throw you to the floor, but nothing will come of it. Third round, I'm going to try and take you down, but you're going to defend it. Fourth round, I'm going to take you down. Fifth round, I'm going to take you down. Yeah. Right? So, like, the wrestling component of his game kind of came into it from late in the second round.
Squashed.
Right? And got better as the fight went on. Vettori came in, and he's got the reference of his last fight with Adesanya in his mind, where he took him down late and had the realization at the end of the third round. He was like, fuck, I should have taken him down earlier. So then he came out and wrestled Adesanya early.
It was no good.
And struggled because he was defending takedowns against the fence. Now, he took him down the first round from the Kit Kat. But after that, he was defending takedowns against the fence, and Vettori was struggling to do anything with it. He was getting elbowed, and so it was like it was almost like Vettori started wrestling
round
too
6.
soon.
It's like he came in at round 6, and it was not round 6.
Round 4, because they fought 3 rounds the last time. Yeah, exactly that. He started too soon. He started too aggressively, and I think that's the big mistake.
But you used to get that quite a bit with people like Cowboy and Diaz and Condit. Where
What do you think to Cowboy and Lozon?
I quite like it.
Yeah,
I quite like it.
Oh.
And it's not me. Oh, it's definitely not me. I'm moving my phone away in case it is, but it's not.
Yeah, I don't think it's me either.
But when you see those guys, and it was like Forrest Griffin used to say, "I need to get punched to start the fight," and it's not so much that for Whittaker, but it is more so don't get punched, don't start until round 3.
But that's the other thing as well, though. Like if you go back and you watch their first fight, like Adesanya tags him a few times with the same punches that he knocks him out with. So it's not like Adesanya's a devastating puncher. Like, he can take a few risks in the first round, because most likely Adesanya's not going to be able to knock him out cold.
No.
You know what I mean? Like, you can't play that game with Ngannou, because the first punch he throws, as we saw in the Stipe fight, it was almost like a jab that knocked him out. Like, I think there's a lot of leeway for Whittaker to win this fight without risking himself too much. I just think the more aggressive he is, the more at risk he is. Yes. I think the smarter he is.
Just watch the first video kind of thing.
Like, even like the Yan fight was a perfect example, because Yan just kind of, it was like sometimes he'll engage and other times he won't, but he was always there. Yeah. Like, if Adesanya moved back, Yan would fill the space.
There was pressure, but it wasn't attack.
Exactly. Yeah. And sometimes he just wouldn't reply. Sometimes Adesanya would like tease him with a jab, and he'd go inside low kick, right hand, or whatever, body kick, and Yan would just block it, and then step forward and just move into his range. Like a Terminator. Again. Yeah. I think that could be something that Whittaker could do, because I think he's got good defense.
So who are you picking? Sorry, Whittaker.
At the moment, maybe. I think I'm leaning towards Whittaker. I think from what I've seen in his last 3 fights, we could see him patiently strike with Adesanya in the first 2 rounds, and it could be quite 50-50, and then start clinching him and taking him down. And I think if he realises that taking Adesanya down out in the open is going to be much easier to control him than up against the fence, then he'll have success earlier.
And he can do it.
Yeah.
It's not like he can't. Who do you think, Jamie?
Yeah,
You going, is he?
Yeah.
I can see it both ways.
Fucking
and I kinda,
hipsters.
Yeah. You cool motherfucker. He probably follows you on Instagram. Doesn't he? Proper bros. Proper bros. But it's... So,
Yeah.
obviously, this... the other thing I was going to ask you about, there's been a few bits. Obviously, the Ngannou thing with Dana.
Uh-huh.
What the fuck?
Oh, man,
Not putting his belt on and not being at the press conference and then saying there was some stuff that I had to deal with.
I am genuinely happy that I am not within that camp anymore.
It's strange, isn't it?
It makes me feel very sad for the state of things. Like sending him a court order for a lawsuit on the day that he was fighting, like that's mind games that a promoter's playing with the heavyweight champion of the division on the day that he's fighting.
Yeah,
like that's intentional mind games, like to try and further improve Cyril's chances of winning.
yeah.
And you know it, and we all know it, and then you just go, fuck, like at least leave fight day with some fucking purity.
Exactly.
Right?
But you know, to do the stuff like not put the belt on, for me, that's too obvious. So if it's too obvious if you're going to look like a bit of a bitch by not doing it, definitely do it and prove people like, well, obviously I've not got a problem with Francis.
Yeah, it's just like it's such a sulky thing to do, isn't it?
But with such a weak excuse, though.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's like,
mate, I honestly love the way that Jake Paul's playing this.
Mate, he's winning.
Like no one would have predicted someone like Jake Paul to come out of left field. And you've got to think as well, like the guy in his corner, the guy he's managing, who's managing him,
was Dana's guy,
yeah,
right?
Nikisa. But well, he was Lorenzo's guy.
Oh, okay.
Like, and I don't think him and Dana had a very good relationship.
That's because
for whatever
Lorenzo's
reason.
smart, right?
Yeah, Lorenzo saw how intelligent that guy was, and like Dana tried to write him off as an accountant.
Okay.
And he was not. He was the CFO of Zuffa.
Yeah.
he was like...
He's no clown.
No, he's no clown. And he also knows the inner workings of the UFC. He knows the contracts.
He's got the Rolodex. He's literally got Dana's Rolodex. He's gone, hey, Jake, do you want to ruffle some feathers?
And then now they've bought shares in the UFC, which I think is fucking brilliant as well. What a great move.
Because they can't stop him, can they?
What a great move. Can't stop him. It's a public company now. And then on the other end, and I love him for it, you got fucking Ariel banging the drum. Like his lineup for Monday was like fucking Slay Dana 101.
Really?
Yeah.
Is Ariel back in
He had Jake
yet?
Paul. He had Randy on. Randy
even
Couture
better.
was brilliant. But this is the problem that where the UFC are right now is, and this is why they've got to be like very cautious of people like like Bisping, for example, and GSP is another good example, because you don't want these people eventually turning on the organization.
No.
It's not good for the longevity of the UFC. It doesn't do anything for their market value as far as a public company, because when you've got the heavyweight champion now drifting away from the organization because of his relationship with the promoter and their contracts, that's not a good thing. No. Like there are a lot of guys. Mark Hunt is on the other side. Randy is on the other side. All of the guys involved in that class action lawsuit. John Fitch and Nate Quarry and all these guys. I mean, it's like the army is. I mean, it's not an army as such, but there's a group of fighters is growing every time they release a handful of people from the UFC.
Straight in.
There's more people trickling over because everybody knows they've been burned.
But I think Dana sometimes looked at that class action, because you say Nate Quarry, I instantly know Nate Quarry. Season 1, Rich Franklin knocked him out cold on the highlight reel, straight back like this. Great guy, right? All of them. I know all the guys you mentioned, but they're not necessarily relevant to him when you're a heavyweight champ, because as much as
that's why him winning was such a big
so bad,
thing.
but so fun for us as the audience members of this pantomime. That is the best outcome we could have had, because he isn't any less relevant now. Because as much as the first 2 rounds, you could almost...
He's more relevant now.
Exactly.
I look at Ngannou now and I think to myself, he is legitimately the best heavyweight on the planet.
Yeah.
My doubts previously were about what his ground game was going to look like. And after seeing his improvements from where he was to where he's at now, and then I think to myself, okay, you add another 4, 5, 6
Plus
months
his
on.
knee.
Plus his knee. Like I was very, very impressed with him. I feel like he goes anywhere else in the world in any other promotion and just cleans it out,
mate.
Like he is clearly the best heavyweight in the world.
After the conversation we'd had about him and Garn, I can't remember if it was on camera or if we were just having a normal chat. But I wasn't sure. I was 50-50 again because I knew there's always the highlight option with Francis, but you miss the highlight and there's someone who can work hard, you're going to lose. And the first 2 rounds, I mean, bear in mind, I was sat there watching it devastated because Brendan's just lost. Well, cheated. So I'm watching it thinking, right, this will perk me back up again. I'll get some action.
I have to go to bed soon.
Honestly, clicking the kettle on at 3 a.m. is like, it's kind of good, but it's also depressing at the same time. And I was watching it and I was like, Dan's right. Garn's done it. He's absolutely done it. So he did everything we said he was going to do, or you said he was going to do, put a bit more pressure on, avoided the strikes, looked incredible, but you can't even put it down to the fact that Garn got tired and Francis got lucky with a punch.
No.
He imposed his game, which was completely alien to him 2 years ago. And when you see him do that against someone that is up and coming and hungry and ready to take over the world, I would have just loved to have been a fly on the wall with Dana, because obviously there are dirty tricks. And like fighters used to do it to each other, where they'd order room service at 4 a.m. and like shit like that. When the promoter's doing that, it just feels a little bit shitty, because as much as you might not like him or he might be frustrating you, you've still got to play the game on the surface. Like, obviously there's famous fighters back in the past that have been instantly released by Dana. I mean, you got Todd Duffy. Can you remember Todd Duffy had the fastest knockout, mouthed off at Dana, and he just fucking sent him packing and then brought him back for Frank Mir to knock out. Gold. But he's always had that power, and he's been in the driver's seat a bit like a Godfather, a bit like the big bald boss off of X-Men, that cartoon character. So he's always been like that, and he's always found someone's weakness, and it's normally money or stability. And the fact that he's got Jake Paul that's like, well, I've got fucking loads.
All of it.
And I kind of don't care. And I've got your Rolodex, and I'm going to fuck you. I think the only thing I was thinking about the other night, Dana must be researching hitmen. That must be his own, and it's only my opinion. I'm not saying Dana White's going to kill anyone, but that's almost...
He'd have someone to do that for him, I would imagine.
Yeah, I can't imagine he's going to pull the trigger, is he? His hands are too soft.
No.
But I can't see him working out another way, unless him and Jake Paul are in this together, which is fucking genius.
Well, I did tweet the other day that the twist in the story might be that Jake Paul is Jake Paul is Dana's son.
Amazing,
right?
Imagine, because
I mean, it happens.
That could be gold.
That's a fucking Jerry Springer show in the making, isn't it?
If they were working together, fucking hats off, lads. Hats off. Because
there's no way. No way.
Jake Paul's even said he's going to have a go at MMA. And the thing is, I can't
he's in
help but
talks with the PFL, which is brilliant.
I can't help but respect that.
Yeah.
Because just have a go. Like you said, the money is stacked. So all that money there, that is just fuck with Dana fund.
Yeah.
And I think because he gets a reaction, like, I know Dana's got a similar relationship with his mum that I've got, that they don't talk to us. But if he did, she would say, ignore the bully and it'll go away. But he's not ignoring the bully.
Who? Dana's mum?
Anyone's mum would tell you to ignor a bully.
You want to read Dana's mum's book?
I know. That's why Sherdog's not there, right?
The son of the devil.
Yeah, that's why Sherdog.
Yeah.
That's why Sherdog on credited or whatever. Yeah, because
they published an article about it.
They interviewed his mum. But
it's running out though, isn't it? You can feel it. It's like it's coming to the end of its run. This whole like control system that's around.
Yeah,
like there's too much going on. There's a lot of stuff I can't talk about on camera, but there's a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes with new promotions setting up and new organizations, and conversations about fighters coming together and unionizing and stuff. It's a good time for MMA. It really is a good time. And the fact that the heavyweight champ is flying the flag and he's got Jake Paul with his endless pocket.
Amazing.
And Dana's old colleague.
But that's gold. But it's almost
Brilliant.
like a Netflix documentary. Do you know what I mean?
It will be
where
in a
you
few
see that
years.
massive rise, and you've sat for 19 episodes of where we are now. Because, like you said, the thing is, the UFC to me, you'll see it even when people comment, and they won't refer to it as MMA. They refer to it as UFC, which that's fine if that's what you call it. But it's like using the brand name of something when it's not necessarily the actual thing that you're buying. And because it's always been, I'm not saying it's always been a monopoly for the UFC, but they've been strong enough and big enough, and they've always done the stuff in the fans' sort of, well, it's always been good for fans because, like Strikeforce, you picked up Strikeforce. In my opinion, you probably made it better. Yeah, we've lost Mauro Ranallo and we've lost Bass, or we've lost a couple of people, but we've still now got Diaz, and we've got Pride coming across. So it was always in favour of the fan. Whereas, other than Fedor, obviously we never got to tick that box or scratch that itch.
Yeah.
But
that's part of what Randy's talking about in his interview with Ariel.
Oh, that he was willing to fight.
That was where the issue came about, is the fact that they couldn't make the Fedor fight. And that was what Randy wanted. So then, if you remember, he signed that agreement with Affliction, and they were going to do that fight with...
Well, he did Tim Sylvia and he did Fedor, didn't he? He did Tim Sylvia and
no, Fedor fought
Tim
Arlovsky.
Sylvia. Tim Sylvia first,
yeah.
Arlovsky second.
Yeah, well, he was supposed to fight Randy when they brought Arlovsky in, I think.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Because I know the third one was
Randy.
Josh Barnett, and then Josh Barnett popped again, and the whole Affliction collapsed. Cheers, Josh.
Yeah.
That's all right. Keep him my t-shirts. Yeah. So is that what Randy...
he was supposed to fight Fedor on Affliction. He talks about it on the MMA Hour. It's quite interesting.
Oh,
but Randy's always been just the soundest guy.
Yeah.
Like, I remember him in the gym back in the day at Extreme Couture. I remember I've done signings with him and stuff in Vegas, and he's just... Everyone's always got something good to say about Randy. And he tried this same situation. He tried this a long while ago, and he just didn't get anywhere with it because there wasn't a group movement behind it.
Yeah.
But I mean, honestly, like Ngannou winning and standing his ground, and Jake Paul doing what he's doing at the moment, I think he's enough of a catalyst to start this rolling.
Well, it's going to make other heads look, because at the minute, Dana's been kind of a law unto himself. Obviously, when it was the Fertitas, as much as they were frontmen, they were quite silent partners. I mean, you always saw.
I think
Frank.
They liked the reality TV aspect of the whole
it was
thing,
kind of
to be
Hollywood.
honest.
It was nice, but it was still quite. It was quite a dirty sport, if that makes sense. It wasn't recognised as an Olympic thing or as like a national thing. It was just more a case of like, oh, we'll find out who's the fucking hardest. A bit Danny Dyer. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Whereas then when it sort of got sold, they almost had to put their suits and tie on a little bit. Can you remember when Joe Rogan did the first broadcast for whoever it was?
With a jacket on.
With a jacket on. I mean, he's done 1 million.
Yeah.
And he just mumbled.
Black shirt and pants now.
He struggled everything.
That's all he does, black shirt and pants.
Exactly.
Now. He used to wear a long-sleeved Affliction t-shirt when he was doing his post-fight interviews.
Mate, I remember.
And a pair of jeans with a wallet chain.
Yeah.
That was his
With hair.
Of course.
Almost as long as yours.
Yeah, almost as long as mine. Yeah, it was... It's weird how it's changed.
But there's got to be other people behind the scenes that are sort of watching. Dana's got to have a big brother or a big boss that's watching him going, because he's always...
I don't know as he has.
But he's been polarising because he's always been mouthy.
Yeah.
But sometimes the shit that he's saying, like when he said, oh yeah, I didn't put the belt on and I didn't go and do the interview, was because of this. You're like, come on, man, you got to be better than that. That's too obvious.
I'd rather him just own it and be like, yeah, I don't want to deal with him right now.
Fuck him, mate. He's wound me off the clock.
I'd rather him just Vince McMahon it and just own it.
Yeah.
But then again, obviously that's not... I don't know. I don't mind the back and forth, and obviously this is an interesting situation because, fighter pay could improve out of it and the contracts and stuff. But I just, as a fan and as a martial artist, I don't like the fact that the purity aspect of it is being affected by the business aspect of it. And I know it is in some way all the time, but sending a lawsuit on the day of the fight when it's already quite clear that, because he tried to re-sign him and Francis didn't want to.
Yeah.
So like best case scenario was that Cyril would win and they could release Francis.
Yeah.
And then
you don't want to sign? Fuck off then.
Exactly.
Well, that's what he was hoping for.
Yeah.
And I can imagine for rounds 1 and 2, he was the happiest he's ever been. And I think for rounds 3, 4, and 5, his bumhole was going like 50p, 20p.
Yeah, that's when there was work in the back to do.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I just think I need to nip to the back.
Yeah, and we're just going to smash up this dressing room.
Yeah, I need to go and text Paul Daly.
He's got his last fight coming up.
He has, hasn't he? Bless him.
Yeah, bless him.
He says he's tired. That makes
We're
me
all
sad.
tired, mate. We're all tired. But he's had a lot of fucking fights. I bet he's a lot more tired than I am.
You know he's going to swing again.
Of course he is. Of course he is. What's he had? 60-odd fights?
Easily.
Something like
illegal
that.
Or...
Oh, well, we don't talk about the rest
Okay,
of them. I've
yeah.
got some fucking Paul Daly stories, I'll tell you that.
You have to wait till he's fully retired.
I wouldn't share him. I wouldn't share him. I never would. I've got a photo of him dressed as a woman, though. That's a whole other thing.
I've not seen either or heard any of those. So if Paul is trying to shake me down at any point to say...
I'll show you. I'll show you that. As we start to wrap this up right now, I'll show you that.
What did you... Just quickly then, if we're wrapping this up, because I am hungry. My stomach's been growling if you're on the microphone, so I apologise.
We've got the makings of burgers.
We have got burgers ready to go. The Joe Rogan thing?
Yes.
What do you think?
Legend. I love it.
Have you seen his sorry?
Yeah, but
I thought his sorry was cool.
I have, but it's also not. It's not a sorry, is it?
It's like, an explanation.
Yeah, which is the best thing about it, because he had nothing to apologise for. Like this, and this is the problem. It's the same kind of thing that we're talking about here with the UFC. Like him signing with Spotify and stepping over onto a network, as it were.
Yeah.
It's put him into much more of a business position with his podcast. But the good thing about Joe Rogan, and this is why Dave Chappelle is mates with Joe Rogan, is because if they said to Rogan, well, we're going to take this podcast down, Rogan would go, well, there's your 100 million back, then I'm fucking off.
Yeah.
And he would do it because he's got integrity. Like that's where we've struggled in the past, when fighters have kind of, for whatever reason, be it, they want to be famous and successful and be the champion, or they need to provide for their family, or whatever it is. People have been squeezed into a position where they then have to, like, look, Nick Diaz in his last fight.
Yeah.
Like, did anyone think he wanted to be there?
No.
He looked like he was there to pay a fucking tax bill. That's what he looked like to me. And it was sad to see. I would rather him not put himself at risk.
Yeah.
Like, GSP and Danaher were talking about this with Lex Friedman the other day. That's a really good podcast as well. You can't play with MMA.
No.
Right? Like, you can take one good clean hit to the head and it's just a game changer.
Yeah.
So like
does it matter what the letters on the back of the gloves are?
You can't be squeezed into a fucking
squeezed
position to do something. Like, you can't be like, I'm going to have to fight because I need to pay, but even though I'm only getting this and I'm not happy with it and I don't have any health care, etc., etc. There's 101 things that need to be improved about the sport of mixed martial arts, and we're seeing gradual movement now. And we've had this start a couple of times and stall, but now I feel like it's gathering some proper momentum.
I think he's got momentum this time,
I've
especially
got this photo in here somewhere.
Because the person that's doing it, as in Jake Paul, is so far removed from the UFC as a brand.
Yeah, completely no ties. Or he might be Dana's
son, yeah.
But I'm still not so sure about that.
It's more the fact that the top of the tree is the UFC.
Yeah.
For most fans. But if you look at the majority of people that have ever left, been released, or made a separate path, as in Eddie Alvarez,
mm-hmm.
JD, DJ.
Oh, DJ, yeah.
Not JD,
yeah.
DJ. They're always, it's like they've realised they were drinking Kool-Aid.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? They sort of get out and they go, oh, hold on a minute.
But the thing is as well, like as a counter to that, like fighters do tend to fade into obscurity a bit when they do leave the UFC.
Yeah.
Because the marketing of the UFC is so good. This is the benefit in not getting paid that the amount of money that you would like, is that then there's a larger portion that goes into the production. And I mean, there's a massive amount of money being made as clear profit that people are getting that aren't deserving of it, or less deserving of it than the fighters, say. But what the UFC does so well, and this is the reason why it's the pinnacle of the sport, is if you look at the MMA rankings, they're basically the UFC rankings.
Yeah.
There's very rarely someone outside of the UFC that you go, okay, they're a legit top 5 contender in the world.
Yeah.
Like, I could think of maybe a handful. Like Sergio Pettis is probably one that's up there. I would say maybe Corey Anderson, but even now the light heavyweight division in the UFC is really, really deep. Ryan Bader, I don't think he competes in the light heavyweight division. You know what I mean? It's like, and like Ben Henderson kind of fell off in Bellator. Rory McDonald has not really done what people expected him to in the PFL, compared to
He's still got probably more money.
Oh, I'm sure he's got more money.
But that's the toss-up, isn't it? And that's where it becomes, that's the Rob Whittaker reassessment now, from going, I've got to the UFC, I've done it, I've got there, what are they going to give me? Oh, nothing else? All right, well, I've got 2 more.
Yeah.
It's like when Johnson came back and went to Bellator. He made bank.
Yeah.
Just because sometimes it is super important to look down and see that you've got the UFC on the back of your gloves.
It's like a validation as an athlete.
Yeah, you've done it. But what's more important for your family and for you moving forward is making a little bit so you can take care of yourself, because you don't end up working at flipping Halfords or something. Do you know what I mean? Just to pay the bills.
Yeah.
But I think when someone like Neil Young comes out and goes, "Oh, I completely," in the world where, I mean, the term free speech is probably said more often in America than anywhere else in the world, just because it's that big. You've got so many levels of disagreement over either religion or fucking sexual orientation, whatever it is. There's massive pros and massive fors and against to everything.
For everything.
So it surprised me in a place that does hold religion and that sort of stuff so close that like these people say stuff. I mean, I can listen to a million podcasts that I completely disagree with or have no interest in. But it seems insane that someone will put their whole fucking music library on the line and go, "Oh, I'll take it off," and they go, "All right."
Yeah.
It's like, what the fuck did you think was going to happen, dude?
And I would be interested to know whether he sat and listened to the whole podcast.
Yeah.
Like, did he actually have an idea of what the podcast was about and who the person that Rogan was interviewing? I mean, there were two particular ones that were controversial. I've only listened to one of them, Dr. John Malone. He's a sound-minded individual that's got a good background in medicine that has an opinion on something that's a valid opinion.
There you go.
And why should he not be able to have a conversation
and
about it?
And it's only an opinion.
Yeah.
Like, I could tell you that I think that penguins are robots that control the sun.
Well, I have a similar suspicion, if I'm honest.
You're not going to take all
why
the videos
the fuck
off.
else would they walk like that?
Exactly, because it's the sun control,
Right.
clearly. If Jamie came along and was like, "I'm going to take all the videos down," I'm like, "Oh, don't do that. Just watch something else." Do you know what I mean? Have a Coke and a smile. It's fine. You don't need to.
Yeah.
I don't know.
March of the Solar Manipulating Cyborgs.
Yeah, wings.
That's a different documentary, isn't it?
Well, that's where Pingu came from. Pingu was the instigator.
I thought Pingu was in R2-D2 in the movies. I thought that was... did Pingu
that's-
not play R2-D2?
That's another conspiracy theory.
Wow.
Yeah. Peter Dinklage is actually a penguin.
Pingu Dinklage. I think that's a good place to leave it.
Sorry, Pete.
We're big fans.
Big fans. Oh, well, there you go.
Well, let's get some food, shall we?
Yeah, take it easy,
Nice
dude.
one.
Nice one.
Good stuff. Check out Han Soloski. He's got wicked stuff on his Instagram. Awesome.
Nice.
Catch you all next time.